Hello, I'm Rasheeta.
And I'm Rochelle.
Welcome to Hope Health Communication, where two Black mom researchers and hope seekers come together to bring you real talk, trusted resources, and community wisdom.
And we know that raising a family takes a village, and we're here to be a part of yours, sharing hopeful messages, expert insights, and tools you need for your family's journey for wellness, growth, and joy.
And as Black women, our hair has remained at the center of our identity. Our hair is a source of joy. It can be painful sometimes, and everything in between. It's more than a journey, but an experience that bonds us. It's civil rights issues. It has health implications. It's a confidence booster. There are so many things that we can talk about with hair, and we look to do that today with our guest, Loreen Brown. And we will allow her to introduce herself, and then we'll jump right into the meat of this conversation. And you'll probably have to cut us off because we could talk all day
Oh,
and all
yes.
night about hair, I'm sure. But Lorraine, would you mind introducing yourself?
Oh, awesome. Once again, thank you, ladies. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Miss Daliah and Rasheeta. Sorry, doctors.
Oh, no,
Yes, honey, yes. My name is Loreen Brown. I am a trichologist, a cosmetologist educator, licensed cosmetologist. So I have all my licenses in all three areas. I've been in the industry for about, I would say it's been 22 years now, 22 years in the industry. So I am well educated in the field of hair even before I had my licenses. But I am also the owner of Zaziel Naturals Hair Solutions, where I service my community through hair wellness and education, not just topical, but what it is to be well from the inside out to get the results they need on the outside. So that is, yeah. Other than that, I'm a Philadelphia native. Background is Jamaican, Caribbean parents. I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm an auntie, and just here to serve my community. You know, I get a lot of pride, especially with women, Black women, just keeping them well educated on what they need to do to make themselves better. I have my own experiences in it, so I'm able to share it with them as well.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, and we can't wait to dive into some of the topics around here that we know you, I'm sure, have plenty of stories to tell around any topic after 20 years or more in the business. So thank you for joining us. Okay, yeah, what's the hope?
I think Black women, Black hair is still the hope, right? I think we'll talk about our journeys, the ups and downs of it. Sometimes hair is the bane of our existence, but I still feel really hopeful about the movement of Black hair. So I think like how we come together and decide what is beautiful to us as a community, particularly Black women, I think it really influences every other beauty standard. Even though, like, you know, research and a lot of folks would say we are not the epitome of beauty, right? In terms of what we see in the magazines, etc. But if we're being honest, what we see in the magazines sometimes lifts from our culture and puts it on other bodies, right? And so I still find a lot of joy and hope in just our creativity and the meaning behind our hair.
Oh, wow, well said. I don't know that I can follow up with anything any more comprehensive than that, except that I do feel like healthy hair is the hope. Like my hair being healthy and being able to be worn the way that I want to wear it. It's rare that I do extensions or wig. Like I wear my hair most of the time. And I have hope that I can maintain it in a healthy way. And so I agree with you when you have someone like Loreen that you really want to make sure you get with somebody who knows your hair, who wants to make sure it's healthy and remains healthy. So that I definitely am hopeful in that. And you said a mouthful when you said a lot of the things about our hair and us being comfortable with it, and it actually sets the trends. We
Mm-hmm.
set the trends, that is for sure. Um, and so I look forward to continuing to do that and keep revolutionizing how we see ourselves as far as our hair, but also what we project out and the confidence that we have in ourselves around our hair and being able to wear it the way we want to.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, so I will let Rochelle, you kind of talk about a little bit about some of the things that we've seen kind of come up around here and some things that could be a little bit worrying, especially when it comes to Black hair. So I'll turn it over to you to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so before we get into like health outcomes when it relates to our hair, we wanted to do a quick trivia. So for all I'm sure the 80s and 90s babies would probably know this song, but in 2006, this song states that hair does not define nor consume her, right? Black women, and that women of color were more than their hair journey and the beauty expectations placed upon them. So this was like, it was such an important song and remains one almost 20 years later. So ladies, who wrote this song?
We'll revisit at the end, so be thinking about it.
Awesome. So when we think about, I think, Black women and their hair and health outcomes, there's a lot of research that's coming out right now, and especially around um, the synthetic fibers that we use for protective styles. And, is the protective style really a protective style? But before we even get there, I think what we can talk about as a panel is like, what it means for Black women to do their hair, and why we put so much energy, effort, resources into having our hair done. And a lot of that links to just sort of being socially acceptable, right? What is considered socially acceptable. And that has a lot of psychological implications, right? If you don't feel like your hair is done, or people remark about what your hair looks like, whether it's considered professional or whether it's considered acceptable. Sometimes we harm each other. So even within community, the way that we speak to each other about how our hair looks. And we're starting to see more research come out about some of the stressors related to Black hair. But I think a lot of it is probably mental health outcomes. But there's even, and I know Loreen could talk about this, the dangerous chemicals detected in braiding hair, right? And so what is going on? Because so many of us, I have braids in right now,
Right.
and I know that like you're supposed to treat the synthetic fibers. I do, what is it, apple cider vinegar and some water, and you can see the chemicals lifting to the surface. It's pretty, it's kind of nasty. But and then you also feel like the itching, right? The chemicals start to create itching in our hair. So there's a lot of physical outcomes that we need to talk about too. And so these are serious risks, and some studies are saying there's risks that are increased, like breast cancer, uterine cancer. And so we do want to be mindful of what we're putting in our hair when we say we're doing protective styles. So Loreen, tell us more, just in your expertise, about how you educate Black women in particular when it comes to protective styles.
Okay, so my approach to educating women, Black women, when it comes to protective styles, usually, first of all, I want to know what the goal is with their hair, because I can't refer you to a protective style if we don't know what direction you're trying to go into long term, right? So most of the time, I'm putting them on caution because, just like you just said, Rochelle and Rasheeta, about the synthetics and things like that, I always tell them, if you're going to get a protective style, make sure that protective style is not doing what caused the damage, right?
Mhm.
Because some people get protective styles for various reasons. They get it because they just want to put their hair away. Maybe they have a more active lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
Or they're just, maybe they want to put their hair at rest and they'll say, I need a protective style that's going to help me, just make my days easier and cut some time, right? Um, and then you have some people that are wearing protective styles because it's just a trend, right?
Mhm.
So I always tell them, like, if you're going to wear a protective style, make sure it goes along the goals with maintaining healthy hair. If
Mhm.
it does not do that, if you're not getting a protective style for that, then we got to go another way.
Mhm.
Because, and then there's the various other, then we have to think about the various so-called protective styles that are trending, right? So
Right.
some people would say, get a crochet,
Yeah.
um, get maybe box braids, maybe get a sew and weave. But who's doing those services, right? Who's delivering those services to you?
Right.
Is it your cousin? Is it is it someone
Right.
who's very
That's so true. That could be right. Your cousin.
because I will keep it
Mhm.
real. Not everybody's going to come to me, and everybody's going to come to me. They may come to me for a consultation just to get the knowledge, right? And
Mhm.
that's fine. But if you get a protective style, which I've had clients do over the course of the years, they've done this. If you go to someone else, are they equipped to make sure that when they are installing or giving you or referring this protective style, right? Are they giving you the best that's out there, meaning texture of the hair, meaning the style of the hair, or are they installing it in a way where it won't cause any more damage?
Mhm.
That's what I do day in and day out. I see people. I'm a trichologist, right? So a trichologist is a branch of dermatology which sees people who have a lot of hair loss cases. I will work with dermatologists. I will send them to a dermatologist, preferably a Black dermatologist. But if not, I still have to send them to someone who could probably do a little bit more than I. But most cases, I see people who are suffering from um, damaged protective styles,
Mhm.
right? So I have to approach them in a way where I'm saying, okay, what is the end goal here? Because if you're going back into the same thing that damaged you, we got to talk about something else.
Mhm.
Sure.
And a
Yeah,
protective style,
I like that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful for you to even, take the time to do that, right? To let people know, here's a plan. Sometimes people have in their mind what they think they can get,
Yeah.
and it really isn't a good match with their hair texture,
Mhm.
with their
Mhm.
maybe some of the issues that they have going on with the hair. I know one of my cousins in Jacksonville who does hair. She does a lot of people's hair with alopecia.
Mhm.
So I know you guys, especially with you being a trichologist, I'm sure you see a lot of dermatological issues
Yes. Yeah.
um, with uh, with the scalp.
Mhm.
Because it is I guess now that we're kind of talking about it a little bit more intricately, it is hair, but it's also an extension of your skin and
Mhm.
your scalp. All of those things matter in the equation. So,
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to introduce myself earlier.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
fill you in.
oh, you guys are so sweet. I'm usually behind the scenes. My name is Dahlia. I am the project coordinator and social media manager for Hope Health Communication. Again, usually behind the scenes, but I have a close relationship with hair. And so that's why I am on this podcast episode. Excited to talk about like my experience and background in braiding hair. So my mom owns an African hair braiding salon. So I've been braiding since I was 4 years old, really young. I enjoy it, but I definitely agree with that aspect of who is doing your hair, right? Who is putting these protective styles in your hair, and do they care enough about like the hair that is on your head,
Yeah.
and keeping that healthy? I think a lot of times, like I can count how many times like women will come into my mom's salon and I will be doing their hair and they would be like showing signs of alopecia.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, just braid it up. I just want to cover it. Just braid it
Mhm.
up. And I'll be like, you have to like deal with it. You can't just always cover it
Mhm.
up.
Yeah.
But then also, honestly speaking, just because of like the background that I have in like African braiding salons, Africans do get a lot of bad rep for just doing,
Mhm.
whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
And so we really have to be open and honest about, like, again, going back to that question of who is doing my hair,
Mhm.
and do they care enough about my hair to maintain its healthiness. So,
Mhm.
No, I
Yeah.
like
I
I,
feel like you got to care about your hair yourself
mhm,
that.
before anybody else does. I've learned that, from I was little, starting to get my hair braided, and my mother teaching me how to self advocate, right? Like, and just say, that's too tight, pull it out.
Mm.
And so you have to care about your hair and feel comfortable to tell people how to handle your head.
yeah.
And so everybody that deals with me is like, oh, here we go. Rochelle's tender headed, and but listen, I'm over 40 and I have edges, and I'm trying to keep it that way. And this, listen, I have a girlfriend who does my hair. She's like, once them edges go after 40, they don't come back.
Oh, really?
Right?
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
True.
because the
Very true.
thinness,
It's
right?
done. We're done.
You
We're done.
And our
right?
hormones and our
Baby
skin
hairs. That's
That's
it.
right. The baby hair is
produces
look.
that.
And
Yeah.
so you have to care about your hair the way you care about your body. And
Mhm.
I think, what I love when I talk to Loreen about this, like this idea of complete well-being and wellness.
Mhm.
And so, I know, like, Dahlia, like, when you're seeing these women come in, how do you perceive, just their own sort of self-esteem when it comes to hair? And I'd love to hear from Loreen and Dahlia about that.
Mhm.
I mean, when it comes to their own self-esteem, it seems as though it gets lower and lower with every protective style.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like if they're like a recurring client, like they come in frequently. Again, it's sort of like this conversation of just cover it. Like, I don't even want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. And when I have the protective style in, I see another me that I prefer, or like I see someone who is not dealing with alopecia, who is not dealing with these scalp issues. So I think,
Out of sight, out of mind.
yeah, exactly,
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? If I don't see it, it's not there until I take out this protective style, and then
Right.
I have to like see it, and then go through this cycle again. So
Yeah.
the self-esteem, I perceive it. I could be wrong, but I perceive it like lower and lower.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I come in contact with this every day from as early as I would say ages. My youngest person with alopecia right now, she first started coming to me. She was 9. She is 10, and she's excuse me, she's 11, and she still has alopecia areata. But um, just to Dahlia's point, a lot of I find that a lot of that comes from there's like a transference of like energy that's been put on people, right?
Mm.
That is giving this negative, you know, self-esteem with women, culturally and just historically,
Right.
period. Because when I interact with women, and they have hair loss, a lot of them are still using language that was put on them from early age. I still
Mm.
have women that still call their hair nappy.
Mm.
Mm.
I don't even know if we came up with that. Historically, I
That's
don't think we
right.
came up
We
with that.
may not have. That's
I don't think
true.
we didn't come up with. I know the history about dreadlocks. We didn't come up with that. So I still have people that sit in my chair and they don't subconsciously. They're still using negative language towards themselves, right? So with that, they've detached themselves from their hair, right? They've detached themselves from um, knowing who they truly are and accepting who they truly are.
Wow.
Once again, it goes back to my younger client. She's so sweet, but the transfer energy, like her mom is very high strung,
Mm-hmm.
and her mom is stressing over a lot of things, and I see that happening to the young girl, to her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
not only is her mom dealing with some hair loss herself, but the daughter is also dealing with hair loss. So it's really a disheartening thing to see, but
Okay.
we have to do something about changing how we talk about ourselves, how we talk about our daughters, how we talk about females around us, because you hear the negative language, you
Oh
hear
yeah.
it, and that's the first thing. Even I had issues with that growing up.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
my hair was very short. I prayed for long hair. I wanted long hair. I see my long hair. I was the only one without long hair, and then one day, out of the blue, I just had long hair. Rochelle knows this, and
Really?
my hair grew. But it starts from when people are very young. I find that over and over again, that they see their hair as a burden,
Mm.
especially Black women. They see their hair as a burden, and they go into imposter syndrome with that, and that leads to trying different things, because the self-love is just not, the self-acceptance and the self-love is just not there till this day.
Yeah.
Man, that was powerful.
Hmm.
I'm just letting it sink in what you just said. And honestly, I'm reflecting because I want to make sure I'm not doing that to my daughter. Like, sometimes it's subconscious. We don't even, it's things that we were taught, and
Yeah.
we're continuing that in
Mm-hmm.
that tradition. I think that I'm very grateful. I had a relaxer starting it in the 6th grade. Like, I got
Mm-hmm.
my first relaxer, and that just was the thing to do. And I remember my cousin who had naturally curly hair. It was really like beautiful wavy, but they kept putting, I don't know how many box perms we went to, she went through just to try to get her hair straight like everybody else.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking back, I was like, her hair is gorgeous. Like, I wish I had the wave she had, but it's just like, when you see other people doing things and you think that's what makes you pretty,
Mm-hmm.
you want that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, we have daughters here, and I think Loreen's point is very important. Like, watch what we say. My daughter's 6, and she just got her hair braided, as a first grader,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a big deal. And um, but I think before that, we talked a lot about how beautiful she is with her hair as it is, and
Mhm.
I will say that even when we are accepting of our hair and our daughter's hair, they still face a lot of stuff outside.
Right,
And so
right.
I feel like my mom was pretty affirming. She's not a hairdresser. She wanted the most simple styles. And so, and I didn't get my hair relaxed until later on.
Mm-hmm.
But like probably the end of middle school, going into high school, it was straightened, but
Mm-hmm.
not relaxed. But I remember when I would get my hair straightened, right? Because we know shrinkage is a thing,
Hmm.
and how many people would come and give compliments
Mm-hmm.
when my hair was straightened. And so subconsciously, as a little girl, I'm like, this is when I look pretty. When I, the other times, not so pretty, right? And so you're always aspiring to
Mm-hmm.
have straight hair because that's when you're being affirmed.
Right.
And so it's kind of like a rational response to want to straighten your hair, right? Because if that's when everybody is like giving you attention, it takes a while to say whether I get the attention or not, I'm going to accept myself.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But as a child, it's very normal to learn self-esteem and self-love from the external source, which
Mm-hmm.
is why, like Loreen is saying, it's so important for us to be mindful of the energy we're transferring and the language we use around our kids. Um, I just get frustrated that I can't change the language of everybody, because as much as the language has changed in my house, it has not changed outside of my house. And so my daughter, still felt like when she got braids, I could see, she said something really subtle, which is like, "Oh, I'm pretty now," right? And I
Mhm.
was like, What do you mean?" And so she didn't know how to explain it, but it was related to having longer hair, even though it was braided. And so, when I take her hair out, I asked her, I'm like, "So are you so pretty?" And then and she's like, "Yeah." So I was like, okay,
Yeah,
thank
you had to do check. Yeah.
right. I had to do a little temperature check, but it's just so important that, our words and how we communicate, esteem is really important, because I think generations before us and even our generation and, even after, we're still dealing with a lot of self-love issues related to our hair. But I do have hope in this younger generation, because they wear their natural hair for such a longer period, that they will not feel the need to do a style to be accepted or to feel pretty, that their own natural hair will be enough.
Oh, well, I have a little trepidation only
Yeah.
because I follow some of my younger cousins and they all look the same with the baby hair swoop and the
Yeah.
extensions and I mean, they're going and getting all of these BBLs. Like they look like cookie cutter images of each other, and hair is a part of that too. So, I've noticed that I mean, they're bold with it now. They don't care. They're gonna wear their hair
Right.
how they
Right.
want to. They perceive themselves as beautiful
Mhm.
in that. But I feel like it's not always based on their own individual style. They're being influenced
For
by
Yeah.
sure.
the
Mhm.
outside,
For sure.
in particular, like rappers and
Yeah.
female rappers and stuff like that. What's trending now, like they all look the same. I'm like, yeah, all y'all here look the same.
You're so right. You're so right. I think I was jumping over the 20-year-olds and the 16 to
Oh,
25 and
gosh.
going down to the 6-year-olds. Hopefully we could
Oh
keep
yeah,
them.
hopefully, yeah.
But you're so right, because and I think about us when we grew up, Loreen, we had Debrat, we had Erica Badu, we
Mhm.
had Laura Hill, we had so many, women that were wearing their hairs in headscarves. I mean, I think I wore a headscarf during college for like a whole year,
Mhm. Mhm.
and just because I wanted to. And maybe it's there's more liberal sort of styling in Philly. We have more freedom and just the way that we are as a city. I don't know, but I definitely wore my hair as the brat, right? I definitely wore, we didn't get, I don't think we have faux locks. So we probably all wanted Lauren Hill's locks, but
Yeah.
we could do faux locks now. But I mean, like, I think Rasheeta's onto something. Like, there was something happening in the late 90s, early 2000s that had freedom of expression that was more connected to our natural way of looking.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
How
Mhm.
do we get that back?
I don't know. The internet is very influential nowadays. It's I have a 19-year-old and she can come and get anything done from me. Anything. I can teach her the whole field of cosmetology because I was in a teacher's role at one point. But she chooses to go her own way. She chooses to, and it's not all bad because I want her to kind of have that relationship with her hair and try different things. There was a period when I just let her, hey, you want to cut your hair off? She did it. She did it when she was in middle school. She cut her hair off and she wore all the colors. And I said, be free to express yourself. I didn't want her to be, um, I wouldn't say a slave, but I just didn't want her to be codependent upon what the trends were giving, which is, like you said, Rasheeta, the baby hair and all of that. Because I always told her, I said, if you're going to try that, make sure you still have your hairline at the end of it.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
just made sure that I just always supervised her through all of these things she wanted to try because I am my work is I am seeing people who tried everything, right? I'm seeing clients who have gone through the perms and the colors and the fried and the dyed, and now they're sitting in my chair. And not only that, it's because of the stressors that through those lifestyle hair practices, because they had to show up and go to work, they had to feed their families. And there was no way they were going to come in with natural hair. There was no way they're going to do an afro and protest their freedom and all, none of that. So now fast forward, I see a lot of them who are dealing with all types of hair loss, and not just from the styling, but they are taking medication because their timeline was very stressful. You know what I mean? When they were growing up. So we just have to, we're doing better. I could say we are doing better, Rasheeta, in a way.
Yeah.
We have more literature. We have more children's books that talk,
Yes.
Black and brown children, and I see a whole plethora of them. I aspire to write my own children's book at some point.
Yes.
All things.
You gotta come on here and audience.
All things here, because I've seen the psychology of it, and I've seen like what it does. When a person sits in your chair and they have come out of wearing weaves for years. They've come out, they felt like their hair couldn't grow, and then their hair starts to grow and they're like, oh my God, I haven't seen my hair grow this long since college. And, they probably had an area of concern and now it's back, that area of concern is no longer in the alopecia stage anymore and it's fully grown now. So I think it's getting better, but yeah, I mean,
well, I take your word because you do this every day. You see,
listen,
I'm just telling you what I see my cousins do on Snapchat. I'm like,
and I am with you, and I do not want to see it anymore. I do not want to see. I don't want to hear about it. If somebody shows me another swoop, swooped and duped, I can't. Please.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay.
So, and then they have the tattoo ones too. And I'm like, I can't.
Wow. Okay. That's a whole nother dimension.
That's deep. That's so deep.
No, I appreciate you continuing to give me hope that there is that we're evolving beyond some of the trendy things. And I will say that when you talked about the children's book, my daughter was telling me she has to go to school dressed as a character from a book, and she came in my art room and showed me the book. And it was the main character is a young Black girl, and it's about her hair. So that I was like, okay, we work that one out. We can do that one.
That's beautiful.
I'm definitely looking forward to the book. So you'll have to come back and introduce it to the audience for sure.
I keep this this is something my daughter made for me years ago. And made it for me for Mother's Day, but it was so fitting for the salon because I have a lot of little girls, not a lot of little girls, but they're young enough and they see the picture and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, this is you.
Yeah.
This is this is you. And I keep it in here. But my daughter probably didn't even know what she was doing.
Talented. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's beautiful. So I'm super. And one other point I wanted to make, and it goes back to what you both were saying about who does your hair and the health of your hair. So when I do get my box braids, I usually get them taken down by the person who braids them too, because I don't like to take them down no more. I used to do that when I was a kid all the time. But my cousin does my hair, and she's a cosmetologist as well. And I know the first time I had my braider take them down, she said, who took your braids out? And I told her the person who did it. She said she did a good job. So she affirmed. So I definitely do it every time now. She's like, she didn't cut your hair. She didn't get it where your ends were so frayed from her just yanking on it. So it matters. And she charged a little bit more than probably your average braider, but to me it's worth it. It's worth retaining the health of my hair. For sure. So anyway,
beautiful. Your hair looks beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Always. Rasheeta's hair is bomb.
All of you.
Y'all keep y'all hair tight now. And Rochelle, I don't know what these fit when she come on. She be having all kinds of hairstyles. I'm like, ooh, that's cute. So when did you learn? I'm asking this to anyone. You can just jump in. When did you learn that your hair was beautiful? Just any memories of that?
Hmm.
I'll give you a moment to think about it.
Hmm. When did I? It was beautiful.
And while you're thinking,
Mm.
my cousins and I all had pretty nice hair, but I felt like they kind when we were younger, there was a competition, like whose hair was the young, whose hair was the longest, and who was. I'm like, oh my god! So it became a little bit stressful. I don't know if you all had that experience
Yeah.
with your cousins and
Yeah.
stuff, but with my cousins, like they were like, well, she's hair longer here, or the kids'
Mhm.
hair longer, it's longer, and I was like, wait a minute, why are we being compared?
Length is something. Length is something,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yeah.
Hmm.
mhm.
And I feel like a lot of times we prefer length over health, and
Yeah.
that's also another issue too. I had to unlearn that as
Me
well.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
Getting those ends clipped. Yeah. I
Hmm.
started so Iris I didn't get my ends clipped till I was much older, but I've started Iris out now. Like she gets
Yeah.
her ends clipped about every quarter, probably every quarter.
Hmm.
Because I didn't want her to have to unlearn because I was like, oh no, you're gonna cut it off. Like it's so much prettier when it looks healthy and all those things
Exactly.
gone.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Who who remember when they first felt their hair was
Hmm. I don't. I'm with Dahlia. Like I've always equated, beautiful hair with length. So
mm,
when it wasn't until like I cut my hair off,
Hmm.
I was able to see my real self. Like
hmm,
because other people were attached to my length. It wasn't me. There was a
mm,
time when I was like, okay, once it got long, I was like, all right, it's long.
hmm. That's a
Now
check,
what?
check.
Yeah, I was like, now what? It's long.
Done.
I remember when Loreen cut her hair, people was losing their minds.
Yeah,
And,
they were
and Loreen was peaceful. And I was like, I mean, your bone structure is bomb
because,
regardless. So
because
like you can
there
wear
you
whatever
go.
hairstyle you want.
And I actually feel more empowered when my hair is short like this.
Hmm.
When I had long hair, I still felt like it was, it's still a part of me. It was great. But when I cut it off, I had like Rochelle said, I had such peace of mind because I
Mm,
learned that I wasn't like India Irie says, I am not my hair.
mm.
And a lot of people were very, very disappointed. And I said, I didn't even know you were paying attention. I had no
Right.
idea.
I
Oh,
think some of it is
Where were you when I was
cultural.
blow drying my hair and it took about 5 hours?
right,
Right.
right. When were you under the dryer sitting here?
Right.
I'm
Where
Because
were
to
you?
keep that
burning
length,
up.
a
Because it
lot
comes with
of
responsibility, and
right.
you have to be responsible to keep your hair healthy. It's a
That's
journey, it's a part of you. It's not like a detached thing, it's a part of your anatomy.
mhm.
So, when I cut it off, it was very liberating for me
Okay.
because I didn't have to
Yeah.
deal with the thought of, well, what am I going to do with it next? What kind of products am I going to put in there? I got a budget for this. I got a budget.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put it in a protective style. I wanted to release myself from that thought process.
Mm,
Hmm.
Focus on what I preach now. I wouldn't say preach, but what I teach now is to educate people on how to be well from within.
mm.
Because a lot of times it's nothing wrong with wearing a wig. I'll whip on a wig today and snatch that thing off tomorrow. I mean,
Right.
it those are accessories. Those are great things to do when you feel like you want to switch something up. But it
Hmm.
should be the norm.
Hmm.
And again, I felt like it was even more beautiful when I pulled
And,
up.
and your identity doesn't have to be beholden to
No,
that accessory, right?
because
Like,
you hide. You kind of like hide. I
hmm,
don't know about anybody else, but you kind of find like this sense of like refuge underneath all that. And I have people that are way older that never took their wig off in front of their husbands. They tell me,
Mm.
yeah,
So
it's good.
no, I mean,
Look
it's
at you
low,
starting
it's
trouble,
beautiful.
Larry. You talking about
It's
that's
low, it's beautiful. If it's shaved bald and it's shiny, it's beautiful.
yeah, that's deep.
So fine.
That's deep. I don't think I was attached to length. I think Loreen can attest to
Yes.
that. Is like I like styles. So, even when I wore my hair, I mean, I cut my hair all the way off many times. And I think the first time I did it, I was 15.
Mhm.
And it was like seen as very rebellious. Like my dad was not happy. But I liked Halle Berry's cut, and I was like, I'm
And
gonna
that was
do it.
fire. And that was a fire cut.
And I loved it. And the thing was, like, I think, in terms of like thinking about when you heard that your hair was beautiful, I remember that being one of the times of just like, you know, wow, like we love your hair, right? And it was not long; it was very short. And then I did it again in college, and I just felt like if I wanted long hair, a weave is not that far away.
Right.
So I wasn't attached. I think for me, the thickness in the body is what I felt most attached to,
Mhm.
because the density and the thickness of my hair my hair was voluminous. I don't know if it's that much anymore. I think kids do something to your hair, but at least in high school and college. And I remember people thinking my hair was a wig.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm like, no, and like you gotta, go search for tracks, and I
Mm-hmm.
still do that sometimes. But I I think I had more freedom about my hair internally, but I would watch other people react. Similarly, like Loreen said, like
Mhm.
you're watching other people react to the styling of your hair that
Mm-hmm.
may or may not be how you feel about yourself. Um, so yeah, I think there's different moments of when I felt my hair was beautiful. Um, and I think I'm going through that again. I think this over 40 thing is something different
Mm-hmm.
where I'm watching my hair change in different ways. And then after having 3 children and going through shedding and literally like hair falling out in the front of my head, I'm just like, what is this? So I think just having to appreciate that our hair is a part of our body and that our hair tells a story of where we are health wise too.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, the beauty part, I think I felt most comfortable when my hair was short, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I mean, I think it's funny how stories stick with you or moments stick with you. And as we're talking about these things, things are just like flooding back in my mind.
Mhm.
I remember being in high school, and I always had long hair. To where, and did you all ever get like, are you black? Like, are you mixed with something? Like, I'm black. Like, I don't know, I'm not mixed with nothing. Like, it's okay for black people to have long hair, or
Right.
it's almost like I always had to explain why I had the texture of hair I had, the length of hair I had, but or I just could not be completely black. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
no, I'm black. Um, so that was a, a memory that something that often happened, and then also, is that your hair? Feeling for tracks, and then
Mhm.
I remember when I cut my hair, I didn't go, as far as you all went with like the real pixie kind of cut, but I did like a bob kind of, and it was shorter than I had ever worn it. And my cousin, he said, I remember that to this day. He's like, "Oh, now you're bald headed like the rest of them." It's like, wow. So, and I remember that because it probably stung, obviously. So when you said like beauty and length and all of that, like,
Yeah, that's so deep.
yeah, he was like, now you're bald headed like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't like it. I like it. I thought it was cute.
Can I just add into that? Because, like you said, conjuring up memories. So, I also felt like my hair was beautiful when I lived in South Africa. And
Mhm.
because, like, in the early 2000s, when I lived there as a, just graduate student, the hairstyles were whatever you wanted them to be. Like I saw people do all kinds of hairstyles, literally like
Mhm.
waking up in the morning and twisting 2 pieces of, you know, the kinkiest, thickest hair that you can think of. And they were beautiful and like stunning, right? And comfortable with their hair. and it wasn't a loose wave person. It wasn't. It,
Mhm.
in other words, the natural hair that I saw was not just among those who had looser curls.
Mhm.
It was the tightest of the curls. That it was all acceptable. It was all beautiful. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think social media does a lot of
Yeah.
deep damage across the world in terms of what is considered beautiful. So you will see the baby hair stuff, and I'm not shaming nobody baby hair because it's cute. Like
Oh
do
no, yeah, no,
do
me.
what looks cute for you. I think that what I'm referencing is the diversity of options that I
Mhm.
Yeah,
saw, and
Yeah.
so I felt so liberated because it was also the time where I went back to a pixie cut,
Mhm.
but I wasn't around to like get it straightened. So
Mhm.
now the pixie cut is like a teeny weeny fro, and
Mhm.
I was fine. And my boyfriend, that now husband, was also fine. And so I do think that, you know, at least in my experience, limited experience, acceptance of Black hairstyles was greater on the continent
Mhm.
than in the
mm-hmm.
diaspora. And it
Mhm.
might, I don't, it's not, obviously it's a wide brush that I'm painting here, but that was my limited experience. And I remember people would say, why do the girls in Africa cut their hair off when, they used to think they're all bald headed, right? Like girls in Africa can't grow long hair.
Mm-hmm.
And, having sisters in law who have beautiful, strong, healthy hair, they would say, no, we cut it off so that we didn't have to worry about it during school time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so there was a practicality to the hairstyles too. Like, how is hair serving you
Yeah.
rather than you serving hair?
Mhm.
So I remember that distinctly, like feeling so free. I don't know if it was beautiful, or I think the stronger feeling was freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I think for me, when I first knew my hair was beautiful, so I went to a performing arts middle school and high school, and my major was dance, and I would always get like braids or weaves, and sometimes it would be really hard for me to, whip my head or like really express myself fully with like all the hair on my head because it used to be a lot. I can tell you that. Um, and so my dance teacher, Miss Pete, at the time, she didn't know that it was hard for me because I would just dance, but like I would just be in my head like it's hard, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But one day she like pulled me to the side, and I would never forget this. And she was like, "Your natural hair," and mind you, she never seen my natural hair, but she was like, "Your natural hair is beautiful.
Mm.
Your natural hair is fine to wear." And so I kind of wonder now, like, did she see that I was
She
uncomfortable,
sees pain.
maybe, like I was in pain.
Agony.
Um, and she had the most, I mean, I think her hair was beautiful. It was voluminous. It had length. It was just like so pretty. But when she told me that, I went home that day. I remember I looked in the mirror. I was like, I'm taking out my hair. The next week, I cut it all off. And I
Wow.
was like, I'm starting over.
Mhm.
And it was a journey, but I would say hair affirmations to myself.
Mhm.
Um, and, like I just found that my hair was beautiful, just wearing it the way that it was natural, short. It grew out. I cut it again. It grew out. I cut it again. Like it's just this back and forth with my hair. But I always think about Miss Pete's because
Wow.
I think representation is important, and we've been having that conversation, right? And at that time, Lupita Nyong'o was like the it girl, and she had short hair, and she was just so beautiful. But I remember Miss Pete's in that conversation. It really, I guess, it like catapulted me to really
Mhm.
believe that my hair was beautiful the way it was, without like braids, without weaves.
Mhm.
Like I could be pretty with them, right? But then I
Mhm.
could also be pretty without them as well.
That's right.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Beautiful story.
And without the hair, I was able to like dance so much more.
You really
Wow.
could get it, huh?
Really freeing. Like we talk about liberation,
Yeah.
spot
Mhm.
on.
Shout out to Miss Peace. I don't know. I love
Yes,
Right?
that.
We
yes,
need more Miss Pete's in the world.
I
we
know
do.
that's
We
right.
do.
So I think we might have one more question that I wanted to kind of put out there. mostly for those Dahlia and Loreen, you guys do hair. So how what does it mean for you when you do others' hair? Like
Mhm.
what emotions evoke? Like is there anything what do you say is kind of an emotion or a thought or a feeling like I mean I know you've been in the space for a long time, so obviously there's a passion and a love for it, but just anything that comes to mind when you're doing others, what is fulfilling about it for you?
I think seeing the trend. Oh, I'm sorry, Dahlia. Did you want to?
No, you can go ahead.
I think for me, is just knowing that I have something of value to offer my clients and
Mhm.
something that I know that works. Um, my clients always tell me how they feel like they're being cared for.
Mm.
That is huge
Mhm.
because I gotta tell you the number of so many stories, so many
Mhm.
stories where they've gone to the best of the best, and I'm like, why are you here? I mean, I'm not trying to say, trying to dumb myself down, but
Mhm.
um, I hear people who say they this is probably like the one of the first times that they felt like they were being cared for.
Mhm.
So see them come in one way and
Mhm.
then transform in the time that they leave, it's like, wow, I've really did something good here. And sometimes they come back for a
Mhm.
season, and then sometimes I don't see them, but they always remember that they were being cared for, and that's what always sits and resonates with me is that they got the proper care that they needed.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go.
Oh yeah.
I love that. That's super important. I think for me, when I do hair, I one, of course, I want my client to be satisfied with their hair, right? And so when I see that it is a confidence booster, right? You get your braids, or if you get your twist, and you're like, you're swinging it, and that confidence booster, that like protective styles when they are protective,
Mhm.
they give to the client. I think for me that makes it memorable. It's, I wouldn't say it's like an emotion that I feel, or it might be, but I can see how, like just getting braids, twists, or like, I don't know, whatever protective style they're getting, like once they get out of the chair and their faces light up and they're just like, thank you, I love it. Um,
Mm.
you could just see like the confidence is there.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
magical. It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. Like who?
So as they're feeling that, you're kind of like it's almost like you were saying, Lauren, that transfer of that same like that positivity
Yes.
comes from them to
Yes.
you from what you've done. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
okay, I like it. I can see that. I can
Yes.
see that. Um, I had a quick question, another one, but I think it's important to ask. So I am going to ask it. Um, what do you hope people will understand about Black hair? And
Mhm.
I felt it was important to ask because we have also talked about how people can make us feel bad about our hair or make us feel like it has to be a certain way in order for us to be pretty or to achieve a certain level in our workplace, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we could go on and on. But what is it that you would want people to know about Black hair that they may have misperceptions about?
Hmm.
Wow, so many things. Well, first of all, black hair matters. Like I
Yeah.
think we've been taught that it's just like a slap in the face. Just like Rochelle says, we go out and we're being taught like it doesn't matter, but then it does when it's making money and it's trendy,
Mhm.
and then you see other people mimicking what we're doing and our style and everything like that, our aesthetic. But I think I can just say that our hair matters because I see how we've been taught to treat it like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
in a
Mm.
healthy manner.
Mhm.
There's like I always say, like there's a lack of a proper education of just knowing what it is to really take care of your hair, and that's a science,
Yeah.
not just putting on a product or anything like that. It goes way deeper than that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, our hair matters. Our hair matters.
Thank you. Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Mm.
Talia, anything to add to that? I know that was hard. That's hard to come follow up on. I don't mean to put you
Yeah,
on the spot.
black hair matters 1000%. And I think a lot of us need to hear that and
Mhm.
accept that and believe that. Um, but I would add that, I mean, along that side, like it's also a source of empowerment, right?
Mhm.
Your hair, yes, it's a part of our identity, but you can also shape your identity, right? You can also um, believe that you're beautiful, right? You don't have to always lean into what society says about, hair, like, oh, like black hair is not good hair, like Becky with the good hair kind
Mhm.
of thing, right? But you
Or the
can,
Chris Rock movie of video,
yeah, that right, the
something where he did
documentary.
a hair
The hair.
documentary, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And you can like slowly undo those patterns, right?
Mhm.
Of what society has put on us about our hair. I think even me now, like just doing the background research of this, it's interesting, like the associations between beautification practices and power,
Mhm.
right? And how black hair has been weaponized,
Yeah.
right? Throughout history, even in contemporary times. We talk about like black hair in the workplace and how, black women, black men even,
Mhm.
sometimes they haven't been called back for an interview because of their hair, or they've been, judged because of their hair, discriminated against because of their hair.
Mhm.
Black women not there's research on black women not engaging in physical activity because of their hair, right? And so for
Mhm.
me, that's important to research, and then also make that research accessible for us to make those positive changes, not only accepting our hair, but then also making sure that like we're protecting ourselves too.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
so that's a long-winded way to say, yes, I agree.
No,
That
I love you.
black
You
hair
being
matters.
long-winded.
It
I like it.
matters, man. It matters.
Yeah.
There's a whole $1 billion business built on black.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
There you
Yeah.
go. And I know we're coming up on time and we probably have to wrap and get to the trivia question, but I was just thinking too about like when you said that, Lauren, about the $1 billion business,
Mhm.
about the hair stores and who owns them. And
Mhm.
so I'm sure that's a whole nother
Oh,
episode. But
yes.
when you
Yes, yes.
said that, I was thinking like oftentimes we're not the ones, making other than kind of maybe in the salon setting, and maybe you have your own product in your salon and things of that sort. We do have stylists and cosmetologists who are ambitious and who do move in those directions and have an entire enterprise. But as far as like in the community,
Yeah.
you get your everyday hair products, like I don't
Yeah.
see a lot of us owning those stores. It's so
Mhm.
funny because they have like locked it down, like
Yeah.
all those, all the hair stores that cater to us. So,
Can I add to that?
oh please,
It's
yeah.
interestingly enough, I was talking to a client today about the same subject before she just left.
Mm.
And her family actually goes George Mason, right?
Mhm.
Her family went to George Mason, her brothers, and it was like interesting. I'm talking to, but we were talking about that. So it's such a disparity that's
Mhm.
going on in the the black hair product industry, and
Mhm.
how it's like purposely set up to fail, because when they go into these meetings, and I know somebody personally who told me when they were trying to launch their own hair store business, that they will not speak the language. They're going to speak the language purposely in front of you, their language.
Oh, really?
You will not understand what they're saying.
So they lock. So we're locked out purposely. Like that's by design.
Beverly Johnson has that same narrative, same story. And she had to get someone that she was very close to that understood the culture and how business was run to help her, yes, launch her business. So we are, I mean, I've seen it with people that I work with. It's happening on purpose. So when we're fighting for women's hair rights and hair, or just hair, hair rights from being discriminated and all of that stuff, it's a serious thing, because if we start to get liberated and be in our own self, then it kind of shakes up the market and the expensive world and the product world, all of that. And all of us will become our own bosses, will become our
Well, yeah, and I think maybe some of that is we're leaning into some of that now with these new movements that we're seeing how much we can command for our capital. Like if we stick together, we can change some things, because money talks. I said one thing about us: we are consumers. We spend $1 billion a year. So
the key is sticking together.
True.
That's the key.
True.
Yeah.
That's fine. Rochelle. Okay, Rochelle. I'm gonna have you asked us the trivia question, so I don't know how you want to reveal the answer. I think
I think somebody said it while we were talking, so maybe the audience picked up on it. But yeah, I mean, we don't have no gifts or prizes. It's just bragging rights, right? But it's India.Arie, right? I am not my hair. And I think that song resonates till today. I think her as an artist, what she has gone through because she doesn't fit the molds. So I think while we try to celebrate each other, there are consequences to us showing up authentically. And I think a part of moving forward is to have more courage about our hair, however that hair is, however we want to wear it, is to not feel like we need to be affirmed or, from outside. And I think we probably should have another show that looks at Black men's hair, as a sister to two Black men and a mother to two Black boys. And I think Black boys are really free these days. I mean, their styles are amazing, right? And just all over the place. I mean, both of my boys do whatever they want with their hair. And I think we used to be worried about, like, when they get to college and then they got to go look for work and they got to cut their hair off. I mean, one of my good friends, Loreen's cousin, I remember when he had to go through this, he had beautiful locks and, getting on the market and what that was like, and other cousins and friends who had the same thing. They had to, trim their hair down or whatever, make it business, professional, right? But anyway, I think there's more to us than our hair. Like, our hair matters, but there's so much more to us than that. And I think we should, use our hair as an artistic expression and feel freer to be whoever we want to be. And I think Black hair is so just, it's art, right? Like, you can do so many things with it. And I think our culture has made us, so I have friends who are not Black who are like, I wish I could do this with my hair. I wish I could do this with my hair. And I'm like, you can, but they don't feel like the culture will accept them with all that sort of,
I saw you don't have to restrain yourself. Just be free. Be free. Tell us what's on your mind. Don't hold back.
I was just saying, no, they can't. No.
I agree.
No. I'm not saying they should choose our styles. I'm just saying, if they want to wear a French braid and do some little color at the end, like, go for it.
They choose our styles.
That's true. They try to take our styles.
Rochelle, they can't do it like we do it.
That's
That's true.
listen. I'm not
That's true.
gonna. Yes, I agree with y'all. And I think we should feel proud of that. We should feel proud of our creative expressions, because I feel like even though a lot of our creativities probably come from, facing white supremacist ideals about what beauty looks like, so we like try to figure out how to adapt to that. I think beautiful styles have come out of that, right? So like even the baby hair style to me is really like it's going to be such a timestamp, right? It's such a very specific.
Definitely.
Yes, and so I think about the brat. I think about TLC and T-Boz's sideburns. All those styles are such timestamps, and so I love all the hairstyles. I'm here for it all, and I think we should remain that sort of celebratory spirit and teach our kids that, and teach our romantic partners to appreciate whatever we got going on with our hair, because I think that's a whole nother conversation. But Loreen alluded to it, where you're saying like there are women whose partners don't know what they look like without all of the stuff. That there's a deeper thing going on, and I feel like I truly feel like people will accept you when you accept yourself, right? And I think you have to teach people how to treat you and how to accept you. And so if we can continue to encourage our younger, folk, our children, our nieces and nephews, the folk that are in our community, to just embrace who they are as, children of African descent, however the hair comes out of their head, the world will have to catch up, but I don't think we should hide ourselves and hide our creativity just because it may not fit a particular standard.
I love it. Well, we're at time. I want to be respectful of everyone's next phase. Usually we got other things to do, next job or something. We keep working till we go to sleep. That's Black women for you, right? But it was so great to hear your story. Loreen, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you come back, especially with that book. We're going to be pressing you on getting that done. So really thank you for doing that. And I don't know, Daliah, if you had if you were sending us out on some India Ari, but we want to say thank you for joining us in the audience, and come back and see us again the next time we're posting. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.